Hey, Sierra family, thanks so much for joining us today for 15 Minutes with. Corbett's joining me today, and we got a friend who is a long ways away right now. One of our missionaries here at Sierra, Jordan Morgan, who is in Thailand working with, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, it's ITDA?
F.
F. Yeah, so
both of you got it wrong.
Yeah, so no longer P, it's ITDF, which is what does that stand for?
Integrated Tribal Development Foundation. And it was a P before. They just transferred from a program to a foundation so they can give visas out to people. So that's the main biggie.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. So Jordan recently was able to get back into Thailand and get through all of his COVID tests and get to be back where he loves to be. So Jordan, you were born and raised here in Lake Tahoe. What first drew you to Thailand? How did that start?
Well, after high school, at Georgia Tech High School, I went to San Diego Christian College. I got a baseball scholarship, and I ended up playing 4 years of baseball there and studying biology/pre-med. And my college has worked alongside ITDF for about 15, 16 years now. So far before I even knew about any of this, they have been working with them. But my senior year of college, I had the opportunity to jump on a team kind of last minute. Never been on a missions trip before. It was about a month-long trip, 16, 17 other people on the trip. And yeah, I came out here with the team, had no idea where Thailand was, didn't really know where I was going at all, honestly. I'd never heard of anything Thai except Thai food in the States. And we had very few of those restaurants, obviously, in Tahoe. And I wasn't the biggest fan of that. The food, first off. So I didn't really know much about it. No, I didn't really like Chinese food or Thai food or any kind of Asian food. You know, I just never grew up eating any of that kind of stuff. So that's about all I knew about Thailand is there's Thai food restaurants and we're going somewhere in Asia. So we end up landing there, and I spent a month there with the team, and we did a couple water tanks in the village that I've actually lived and worked in for the past 5 years now, quite off and on. But yeah, we did a couple water tanks and did a bunch of agricultural work with the coffee, and I fell in love with just the people there, the Karen people that lived in that village. And yeah, I wanted to come back and work for the organization, whatever that looked like. And I didn't know how that was possible just because they have never had somebody come and do that up to that point. So they said, sure, come on over and we'll put you to work. And that's kind of how I ended up starting to come out here and get involved with agricultural development and this ministry. So it was pretty random, and God kind of threw me out here, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it's worked out.
All right. So, speaking of being out there, what's your, favorite area of investment? Like you said, there's a lot of different things you guys have done over the years. So, yeah, in the village communities there in Thailand, what's your favorite place to invest in?
Well, the main responsibilities that I have with the organization are agricultural development. So that's probably the thing that I like investing in the most as far as working with the people. So I like teaching, training, and obviously starting new projects that maybe have never been done before in the area. Basically, this helps them, get out of poverty and stay out of poverty. So it's a teach a man to fish, and he'll obviously know how to fish and catch his own fish, and he doesn't need to buy them from somebody else. So that's kind of the way we approach it, whether it's chicken farms or coffee or black pepper. There's so many different things. Growing different kinds of bananas to either keep water in the ground or feed our pigs, supplement our pig food or our chicken food for rations. But yeah, that's what I like investing the most in is, creating these projects that I can see benefiting the people, whether it's financially or health wise, providing them, better nutrition,
Yeah.
Hey, one quick question for you, Jordan. I hear turkeys behind you, and I know you're
Yeah.
actually at your house right now. You're not up in the village,
Hmm.
but you just you've got some livestock on your property, and is that something that you use to help even to you got supporters that support sending you over there, but is this one way for you to create income while you're there to help with the projects and what you're doing?
Yeah. So actually, it helps with planning projects as well because I can test. I have a decent amount of area at my house, and I can test certain animals. I also have goats, which aren't here currently. They're at another farm. I haven't had time since I've got back to pick them up. But yeah, it's more like a hobby and kind of a test farm for me. And if it works well here, I can show that to the staff, and
Mm.
they can go, oh, maybe that would work as a project, and how much money. And it's not on a big scale. Um, I could never make enough money from what I have at my house to, fund my living expenses here. But it is kind of nice. Every Thanksgiving, there's a lot of expats and foreigners that live here and other missionaries, and they like having turkey for Thanksgiving. So I do get to sell a few of them every year. And it is nice to have some company at my house since I'm by myself, and I got goats that wake me up and turkeys that wake me up at 5:30 every morning right outside my window. So it is yeah. And if I do make a decent amount of money off of selling goat or something, then I do put that towards project funds, and I can just put that into the project fund at the office, so I can pull money out to put towards another chicken farm or something that needs to be repaired. But nothing on a huge scale. It's more of a testing for future projects somewhere else. And turkeys is one of the things that I'd like to train people how to take care of because they're really easy and they're really low maintenance. And they could sell them once a year. So they just grow them and let them eat. They like grass. You don't have to buy commercial feed for them. And they eat insects and ticks, and they're really good tick control in communities as well. So it's one of the things that I'd like to implement. Goats, yeah, I haven't found the right hill tribe that wants to eat goats. That's not a cultural thing here too much. There is a decent Muslim community here that does really like goats. So if I can find a good market for that, maybe someday we can actually have a goat farm that would, benefit some of the people financially.
That's super cool. And I know you've shared about that in your newsletters as well as when you've been back here and getting to share. So,
Mhm.
hey, so, I remember when I was overseas as a missionary, and, God teaches us so much through other cultures and other people. God's at work all around the world through all these different cultures and people. So I'm curious, how has God taught you about himself through the Thai people? What has he revealed about himself through the Thai people and the Thai culture there?
Well, that kind of goes back to when the first time that I came out here on a team. I had never been around this kind of culture. I haven't been in an area that is 99% Buddhist. So there's obviously there's a huge lack of Christianity here and believers. And you get to see how sorry, flies, how that affects the people. You can see their eyes, you can see the hopelessness, what they're chasing, the religion, the rituals, trying to get somewhere, trying to earn their way, to salvation or the end goal. There's a lot of dynamics and variables that mix into it, but God is definitely, I guess the biggest thing is he's just humbled me, coming from a very prideful American culture. Even if we don't want to be prideful and arrogant about where we came from, the way we do stuff and get stuff done, there's some good stuff about that. I'm not saying it's all bad, but mixing in with this culture is a, sometimes a pretty potent mix of, it could blow up in your face. So you just got to be careful. And I've had my confrontations, and it's gotten a lot better the longer I stay out here. And God's definitely taught me a lot. And I've had some good mentors, obviously missionaries that work for our organization and have been here for a very long time, to kind of work through that cultural different stuff. So definitely it's been difficult, but it's been good as well. A great learning experience. This country is got a lot of problems and a lot of protests, and our next door neighbor Burma is going through some major major stuff that hasn't happened in 25 years. We have partner missionaries here, Free Burma Rangers and stuff that do work in Burma, and it's the first time they've dropped airstrikes on civilians in 25 years. So it's getting serious. People are pouring into Thailand over the border. The whole COVID thing's a mess because they don't want people coming over here to spread it. And it's really sad. These people are getting forced back and forth and back and forth. And so we're kind of monitoring that, seeing if our organization can do anything to help with donations. But right now the government's pretty strict as far as who's even allowed to get near the border at this time. But a lot of stuff going on here.
What's the difference between Burma and Myanmar?
Well, it's just the name. They changed the name. Okay. But everyone still calls it Burma here.
Okay.
So technically it's called Myanmar, but we all call it Burma. Everyone still here calls it Burma.
Yeah. Wow.
They tried to change its name to change their image. That was what the whole thing was. But it's not. Everyone calls it Burma. They don't want to change its name because they don't want to erase history. And now it's repeating itself. It's been repeating itself. So, and there ain't a whole lot we can do. Even the Free Burma Rangers they worked in there for years and years and years, and they can't do much either. It's dangerous to go in. The borders are all locked up pretty tight. They can't get supplies in. Even, I've got friends that are trying to do donations, and you just can't even get close enough to the people coming across as refugees and asylum seekers. You can't even get them any supplies because the Thai military won't let you close to them because COVID, or they'll blame it on anything and everything.
Wow.
So it's bad. It's happening. If they get across, they'll come up in the mountains. But most of these people that live where I work, all the Karen people that are living, in the mountains, they've escaped Burma, 80, 90 years ago, a long time. They're like first, second generation living in the mountains in Thailand now. So they're only their, grandfathers and grandmoms and stuff. They know where they came from. And so a lot of people don't really struggle with that. They came from that. They just don't remember it unless they're very old. So these are second generation people living in Thailand. Some of them are first. Korean people have been in Thailand for a long time. Not all of them migrated from, Burma, because they came down on both sides of the river, the one that separates Burma and Thailand. So they settled on both sides, not just Burmese side and then came across. But that's how a lot of people come across, because Burma blows up and the military blows up their villages. So not good. Yeah, you can be praying for that. It's pretty serious.